Hello and welcome back to YeYu Google recently released the Workspace CLI, or called GWS tool. It's a simple command line tool for Drive, Gmail, Calendar, Sheets, Docs, Chat, or other Google released applications. It might seem counterintuitive to see so many CLI tools released in 2025 to 2026. But remember, we are now in the AI era, so these tools are mostly increasing being used by LLMs rather than human beings. For an AI agent, a CLI is much faster and more lightweight than navigating UI or calling APIs, which release in totally different types of format. The secret advantage here is the massive library of pre-built skills it ships with. These skills give the AI exact boundaries and methods, allowing the AI agent to build stable workflows under your full control. And the other key here is the discovery service. Most tools using a static list of commands, they will break if an API changes. But here, GWS is built differently using dynamic discovery. So when you run a command, it fetches Google's own discovery service JSON documents at runtime. It reads Google's live category catalog of every available actions and builds the entire command surface on the fly using a two-phase argument passing strategy. So this allows the CLI to pick up the new features automatically. You don't need to update anything along with Google's newly release. Okay, that's enough for the theory. Let's get it running. So first you type npm install -g at Google Workspace CLI, and that will install the entire package for this command line tool. And then if you're running on a system that supports GUI, like your local computer or Mac, you can directly go GWS Auth setup to do the authentication through your Google Cloud account. So you can pick up one account and find an existing project or create a new project on your Google Cloud. So I will use an existing project. And here it asks you what API groups that you want to enable. So I choose the Google Drive, Sheets, Gmail, Google Calendar, Docs, Slides, Task, and Google Chat. Here we got more like Google Keep, Meet to arrange some live call for you. Can you enter for next step? And here there is an OAuth credential. So you need to enter your OAuth client ID and secret find in your consent screen on the Google Cloud console. If you don't have such client set up, you need to create one on the Google Cloud. Just follow the URL, you will find the place to create these security stuff. Okay, because I have already set up, so I will quit here. Basically, after this setup, you're free to go with GWS Auth, log in, and this command will lead you to your Google login pages on the browser, that when you finish the authentication with your account, you are free to go with all the GWS features. There are a couple of ways to do the authentication, which targeting to different environments. So if you are running this CLI on your remote server, which doesn't have GUI, and you log in through the SSH, you can find the way here with headless CI flow, which means you complete the interactive authentication on a machine with a browser, just like we did previously, running the GWS Auth login on that machine. After that, you can use the GWS Auth export command to export the credential JSON file to a local machine and send this file into your server. And export the macro Google Workspace CLI credentials file to this credential JSON file on the right place of your remote machine. So for my case here, I'm also using a remote machine by SSH connection. So here I have a credential JSON file located already. I need to export the file location to the Google Workspace CLI credentials file. Now I'm free to go with the GWS command. The first command I will use to check GWS drive files list. Okay, then you can see there is a list of my files on my Google Drive. Oh, one thing that if you run GWS, it tell you the gcloud CLI is not found. That means you don't have gcloud package installed in your system. So you can set it up manually by run curl command, point to the Google Cloud SDK to do the download, bash automatically. Once that is done, log in with the gcloud with gcloud auth login, completing the follow-up authentication process. Now the GWS auth setup command can proceed without any errors. Here I checked how they handle security in the file under source called credential store. You will find that they use AES-256 GCM encryption. So your tokens are encrypted at rest. The keys are stored safely in your OS keyring. It is a professional implementation for security. You know, recently the security for agent stuff is much more concerned. Like I said before, the real power of this integration is the skills library. If you look at the official skills index, it provides over 100 skills broken down into 4 distinct levels of abstraction. First, you have the core services like Google Gmail, Google Keep, Google Meet, like GWS Gmail, GWS Keep, and GWS Meet. People shared sheets, slides. These map directly to the APIs itself. Second, there are so many helpers. These are shortcuts for common things like GWS Gmail send, reply, forward, and for the sheets, there are append, read, such stuff. And also for the helpers, there are more integrated workflow. For example, it can automatically pull your meeting and open tasks into one view by using one of these helpers. Then it gets more interesting that they includes personas. For example, you can assign your agent the persona as project manager skill, which teaches it how to track tasks and schedule meetings and share docs all at once. And finally, there are recipes. These are multi-step task sequence if you read the name, like recipe backup sheets as CSE, recipe block focus time, collect form responses, compare sheets tabs, create doc from template, which are so practical that your agent reads these files and knows exactly how to execute complex logic safely and with full stability. To use these skills, we need an agent. We will use the Gemini CLI for easy. So firstly, you should make sure your Gemini CLI is well installed. If not, use the same npm install command to install the Google Gemini CLI into your system. Once you have Gemini CLI, you will see the Gemini command will be activated to run. And here I already have one extension, and that extension is Google Workspace CLI. So if you have not installed the Workspace CLI extension, you need to install it now. Let's go out of the Gemini and then you should run Gemini extensions install https with the GitHub URL of Google Workspace CLI. Oh, here it's asking me to export my Gemini API key into the environment to activate this extension inside of the Gemini CLI. So this step is very important, that the Gemini agent instantly reads the Gemini extension.json file and inherits your secure terminal credentials automatically in your system. Let's see the agent orchestrate a multi-step recipe. I will give it a prompt like, we just finished the server migration project, set up a post Mortem for the team. You can see the agent's output here. Instead of guessing which APIs to call, it pulls up the recipe post Mortem setup as an activated skill. The skill gives us a very strict sequence that described in its markdown file. So here he asks you to go proceed. So I allowed for this session. You can see currently it's initiating the creation, and then the skill GWS calendar and the skill GWS chat has been planned to activate it later. So it asks you to allow the execution of the command GWS. So I will say allow for this session and go on. So here he tell me that my Google Chat app has not been found because I haven't activated in my Google project system account, but that's not prevent our demo going on. And here it asks you what is the email address for the team you want to invite to the post-mortem review meeting. So I will use another email of me to test. Keep yes about the time execution. Okay, here it said I have successfully set up the post-mortem for the server migration project. So the first thing it did is the document creation in my Google Doc. I will check later, and this there is a review meeting scheduled for next Monday on your Google Calendar, and inviting these teammates. Here you can see in my Google Drive, actually there are two files. One was created by me yesterday for testing, and this one is the newly in creation just now. So because I don't provide any valuable content suggestion, so the server migration file was empty of the content with only the simple structure set up. And you will see in the calendar, there is a new meeting set up Monday morning with a guest invited who is the email that we previously provided. Because I have activated my chat API but didn't activate the chat app, which is very necessary to work with the chat API. So that is no notification in my Google Chat group to notify the people in the group about this meeting. But basically you can see the CLI and the recipe structure kept the agent completely on track all these different Google apps. Now let's try something more related to data. Here I have a Google Sheet in my drive called weekly metrics. That is a faked data set with raw weekly metrics. And now I want to do something with this spreadsheet. with Workspace CLI plus Gemini CLI. So here I will say read the weekly metrics sheet, generate a summary report, and send it to the management team. So here you can see a new skill activation is happening. The recipe generate report from sheet skill has been used. So it asks me if I want to proceed, allow for this session. The agent leverages this skill and it start to find out the spreadsheet files in the Google Drive. Allow this session. Internally, it will use the Sheets API to read the content of this sheet. After here, it gets the file ID and the related information to access the file. Now, the content of this file has been extracted. It used the GWS people to find out the contact, but I didn't allow it in this case because I just told the agent that contacted the management team. So he is thinking of find out who is the management team in my contact list. So here it said I have created the weekly metrics summary report. What is the email address for the management team? Because he cannot find the management team in my contact. So I need to share what I'm going to send. Still use my email address. So here you can see the GWS Gmail sent has been complete. I already get the notification from my own Gmail account of this shared report. So now he said I have successfully read the data, generated the report in the Google Docs and share with the management team. Let's validate it's out. So first let's check my Google Drive to find out the summary report. Here you see that there's a weekly metrics summary report created here. Just a very simple report because our base data is just simply simulated. Here is the weekly data and the summary. Okay, this is the file. And let's check the management email address account. This is the email account of the simulated management team. And you see there are two email has been received because the agent used the Google Drive to send the notification and also use a Google Gmail to send as well. So here you can see the email, hello management team. Here is the weekly metrics summary report for the past 4 weeks. So you can access here. When you click that, it will lead you to this document. The Workspace CLI plus Gemini CLI and the skill library provides the opportunity that make the standard LLM into a reliable worker with confirmed actions with tools that actually understand how to navigate your data, files, arrangement, emails safely. That's all for today. If you have further questions or ideas, please drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.